Hey guys, my name's Peter, and I'm going to show you guys how to get a fire cape using Melee. There's a couple guides out there, but I'm hoping to go a bit more in depth than they do, and I'm going to show you guys some budget alternatives. But first off, stats. I would suggest 90 plus. I pretty much only started doing it a couple days ago when I already had these stats. You can probably do it with lower. I'm not sure because I didn't try, but I mean you probably could. I'm not necessarily the best at fire capes, so if I can do it with these stats, I'm sure people can do it with lower. Full disclosure, I did wind up getting the fire cape that you're going to see the recording of, but I wasn't happy with this part of it where I talk about the items, so I'm going to redo it. You're going to see a bit of a skip later in the video, but it's not going to be an important time, I promise. So this is the gear that I bring, and these top three items are the switches that I bring, and I'll talk about them in a bit. And then these are the budget alternatives. So I'm going to go through it slot by slot. Varak's helm compared to Nezi helm. Nezi helm has +3 strength bonus, the same prayer, and significantly lower defensive stats, as you can see here. You lose 26 range defense and some melee defense. Range defense when you're doing fire capes is the most important because you cannot dodge their attacks, whereas the meleers you can just run away from them. So prior to this fire cape that I just got, I used Nezi helm, but this time I used Varax and it worked fine. If you don't have Fury, use a Glory, obviously. They basically have the same attack stats, except you lose 2 strength, you lose 2 prayer, and you lose 12 to each defense. So use a Fury if you have it, but if you don't, Glory is not going to kill you. If you don't have Bandos top and bottom, you can bring Guthans or Torags, or like pretty much any barrows top and bottom. But I would suggest Guthans, because if you don't have Bandos, you might not have SGS. So Torags gives you lose 1 defense, range defense on the top and 1 on the bottom. So with this setup and Torags instead of Bandos, you'd have 331 range defense, which isn't significantly lower. You would also have higher melee defense because Bandos is not known for its melee defense. However, you do lose out on the +6 strength and the +2 prayer from Bandos. So I would suggest using this over Torags because, as I said before, range is more important than melee defense. But if you don't have SGS, you might want to swap out the Bandos to save spots. So you go in with Guthan's top and bot and bring the Helm and Spirits to switch. In fact, you could even swap out Guthan's helm for the Varax helm. I think it has 6 higher range defense, and you lose out on the +3 prayer. So if you don't have SGS, you can bring Guthan's. You could bring both if your stats aren't that high or if you're concerned for your well-being. You probably will not need both. I brought both the first time I did it, and it was not necessary at all. I barely use the Guthans, so I don't even bring it anymore. Whip, you do. Actually, I'll talk about the cape first. Cape, I already have a fire cape. I'm going to get another one for you guys. If you don't have a fire cape, you can bring a trimmed skill cape, which gives +9 all stats and +4 prayer, which is not as good as a fire cape, but that's okay. I don't have one to compare with you because I don't have any 99s yet, but that's what the stats it gives. And then untrimmed max cape or untrimmed skill cape, sorry, is +9 to all defense, which is the same as an obsidian cape, which you can also use. If you don't have that, use legends. If you don't have that, go kill a highwayman and borrow his cape. But you should have at least a legends cape if you're going to do this. Whip, you can't just go in with the SGS. You do need something that has 2.4 attack speed. I mean, you could do it with an SGS, but it'll take you roughly twice as long to the 360s, which you will see when I get there. So I would suggest bringing a whip. You can bring a tentacle, which I have here. The difference is you get +8 accuracy and +4 strength of the tentacle. The downside is the tentacle degrades. I'm going to guess, based off how many charges I used on a crystal bow when I did this with range, that I go through about 1500 to 1800 attacks with my whip. If I use a tentacle, that's about like a 6 of the whip gone, which is about 250, 300k. So I don't want to waste that. I already lose money on supplies, so I don't need a whip or a tentacle, sorry, so I don't bring one. But if you have lower stats, you might need one, so you should probably bring one. Crystal Shield and DFS. So DFS gives really good defensive stats, obviously compared to the Defender, and it gives you +7 strength. Crystal Shield gives even higher range defense, but it gives you lower melee defense. I know I said that range defense is most important, and I stand by that. I bring the DFS because I already have +407 range defense when I've got this out. I only use the DFS when I'm using it against the Rangers, or if I'm running past a 180 or a 360 and I don't want to get meleeed for half my health. So you can bring a Crystal Shield if you can't afford a DFS. It won't make or break your run for sure. I just bring a DFS because unlike Crystal Shield, it doesn't decay. I guess I'm saving this for if I ever go bankrupt, not to sell my DFS, but I just don't want to bring it. Bandos Boots compared to Dragon Boots. Dragon Boots have +4 melee strength and -1 all melee defense, -15 range defense when compared to Bandos Boots. So again, one max hit is what you get from Dragon Boots, which isn't significant, and the range defense is. This was the first run I used Bandos Boots for. I just bought them about 5 minutes before I started my Fire Cape video. So you can use Dragon Boots fine. They're significantly cheaper than Bandos Boots, but I wanted to try the Bandos Boots with the Varax Helm, and I think I only got hit by Rangers maybe 10 times at the most with this much defense, which is very good. Other switches, actually I'll finish the inventory here. Gloves, if you don't have Barrow's gloves, use any other gloves, your best gloves obviously, and if you don't have any recipe for disaster gloves, a combat bracelet would probably be a decent alternative, but you should probably start doing that recipe for disaster, dude. Other than that, you can't really get a better ring than this. You can't really get a worse ring except for all of them besides Warrior. I don't know if Archer Ring gives range defense off the top of my head, because Circuit Ring gives crush defense. I don't know if you get range defense from Archer's Ring, but if you do, technically that would be better than nothing, but not by much. I would suggest getting a Warrior's Ring or a Berserker Ring if you can afford it. Other switch is the Dragon Halberd. It is not necessary, but there we go. It is not necessary by any means, but it will make killing the 180s a lot easier. That's all you use this for, is killing the 180s. If you melee them with, say, a Whip and Defender and Pre-Flick melee, they can't heal themselves, which can make it take a lot longer. I mean, obviously this has lower damage per minute than a Whip and Defender, so it will be slower with these, but they won't hit you. You don't have to waste prayer Prey-Flicking, and they won't heal themselves, so it can actually take longer with the Whip as opposed to the Halberd if they heal themselves a lot, which they have a bad habit of doing when I decide to just go finish them off with one Whip attack. SGS, again, is very helpful for Fire Capes, but if you don't have it, you can use Guthans. You'll probably need to bring more Prayer Pots than I'm going to, and depending on how often you can squeeze in your Guthans, you might need more Cerebrews. I mean, I'm going to bring a full inventory. I usually will bring a couple Sharks instead of Cerebrews, but I guess for the sake of this video, I'll bring a full inventory to show you the super tryhard setup. I don't want to die halfway through the Fire Capes anyways, because that would be pretty embarrassing, so I need these back. This. So I've got my switches. I'm going to bring a couple of super combat potions. You don't need too many. You're only going to use these for the 360s and the and Jad, obviously. You're going to want some brews. Like I said, I don't use that many brews, but I'm going to bring them just in case. If you screw up some flicks at Jad, you might need them. I do, so you'll get to see that. It's pretty funny. So you got your brews, you got your super combats, super restores. You don't need 1-to-1 with the brews, because the only time you're going to use a brew is if you're hit for upwards of 20 by the meleeers or upwards of 40 by the majors, because they will melee you if you get into melee range. I'll go into that later. But like if you get hit by a ranger, you can just SGS spec the health back. So you're going to want to use more than one brew at a time, at which point a super restore makes up for 2 to 3 sips of brew. So you don't need 1-to-1. You can just drink 2 brews, 1 super restore and 1 super combat, and you'll be better than new actually, because you'll have your super combat stats. And then the rest of your inventory can just be prayer pots. If your stats are higher, you can swap out some brews for sharks, so that if you get hit, you can eat without having to waste super combat / super restore doses. But I don't want to, this is the setup I would use if I didn't want to die recording this. I do survive, so you guys don't need to worry about that. You will see a full Fire Cape run. It's not the cleanest, it's actually my worst so far, but that's okay. And this is where I'm going to cut it off, and we're going to skip to some arbitrary point in the other video before anything interesting happens. Enjoy! So after editing that video down as much as I could, it still wound up being a full hour or so, the full playthrough of the Fight Caves. So I'm probably just going to have the Jad fight after this little intermission, and I'll have a link probably all over this screen if you want to go watch the full thing. I do fast forward through most of the parts where I'm not talking, and then I have annotations to skip to the important parts. But the full run was about an hour and a half before I cut it down, and I was talking quite a bit, which is probably why it was one of my worst runs, because I used way more supplies than I should have, but I was trying to make it as educational as possible. So if you guys actually want to learn how to do it better, you can watch the full thing, and if you just want to watch me almost die to Jad a couple times, it'll be up in a second or two. Thanks again for watching. So you kill him, you immediately switch to range. I'm going to throw my DFS just in case. And you wait. And that sound means that he's made you move. Alright, turn back on range and run over here. Because the reason you do that is you can't hear his mage sound effect until it hits you. And so then you're gonna go up into melee. Make sure you keep protecting melee on. And then you see him do one of his other attacks, and then you're gonna put it on. So that, when he hits the ground with his range attack, when it hits you, swap back to melee, because he will melee you and it does hurt. This part of Jad is the easy part. Once the healers come out, it's a little bit more difficult. He hasn't even hit me with rage yet, so I can't show you guys what he's made. So there's his mage. So he's gonna mage, and with Camille, you're gonna aggro one of these guys. And as long as he keeps meleeing you, you're gonna keep aggroing them, and he's gonna use range, This one use mage, you have to mage. Where's the other one? And this guy's healing him, so I'm gonna aggro him as well. And I'll hit one more time, and I'm gonna run in and go back on protect the melee. And I'm gonna try to get some things out of here. So at this point, oh, whoa, that was lucky. Okay. So at this point, you should have plenty of prayer pots left, so you can leave piety on. Make sure you keep switching back to melee. I screwed those up. I left them at 0. So whenever his mage or his rank attack hits you, you want to switch to melee as soon as possible before he hits you. Because his melee hits do obviously hit very high. He's level 702, that's to be expected. So as you can see, similarly to the 180s, you will get healed if there was a melee range sometimes, but oh my gosh, they're doing it quite a bit now, actually. Normally I can out-damage them, but I think this guy got unaggroed or something. Okay. Maybe I can just go like this. Oh, I should be using a defender right now as opposed to DFS. Oh gosh, okay. So, I'm gonna brew up, for obvious reasons. What? What are you kidding? So this is why you bring spare supplies. Oh my gosh! Okay, so now I'm going to store up. Right. And super combat. And now we're going to go back again. I cannot believe that all those hit me. I thought I got those switches fine, but apparently not. But as you can see, Chad's pretty easy. There he is, dead. And fire cape number 4 at the moment is now mine. Okay, well that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'm planning on redoing my KBD guide. One of my friends let me know how to get better video quality. So hopefully you'll notice that this is much better quality in terms of pixelation than my last video. I'll try to redo my KBD video. It'll be pretty much the same content. It'll just look prettier, and I did do a few mistakes I'd like to fix up. But yeah, there it is. Thanks for watching. I wound up going through 6 times 4 is 24 prayer pots. I went through 8 super restores. And of the 32 brews, I have 7 left, so I went through 20. Oh no, I have 6 left. So I went through 26 of those? Yeah, 26. And I still had almost a full super combat potion, which I could have kept at 4 dose if I didn't screw up a couple of the melees on the 360s and have to brew. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks again for watching, and have a good day.